the evidence base of the pandemic agenda. So if you work in international public health, it's pandemics are the biggest thing for the last several years. Everyone knows COVID, obviously, but it's a continuing, you call it an industry. I mean, it's capturing a huge part of the funding and most of the emphasis in public health. So, and this is for a number of reasons, ostensibly that there is a rapid increase, the World Bank would say, or the G20 would say, um, existential threat to humanity from pandemics, and that they're increasing due to various reasons, particularly because there's an increase in, it is claimed, passage of diseases from animals to humans. And this is an increasing threat that the world has to address. And WHO's had the pandemic agreement recently, the amendments to international health regulations. World Bank's got a pandemic fund. They're talking about over $30 billion a year, up to 40 if you follow the World Bank's reasoning, to address this globally. And that's sort of 10 times what the WHO gets at the moment for all its operations. So this is a dominant theme, and we're looking at the evidence that it's based on, concentrating on the evidence that is used by the WHO, World Bank, G20 Secretariat, and others to support that narrative, and at their claims on return on investment. So if you put in this many dollars, they claim in 2022 that you get 300 to 700 times that back, which is an unbelievably good investment. So we're looking at the basis of that, whether it makes sense. And going on from that, how these decisions are made is, we've put out a number of reports that have shown that their own data, their own citations, don't support or frequently contradict these claims. So it's a concern. There's a lot of money to be made from pandemics, which is probably not disconnected from the whole thing. And the change in the way that international public health works over the last 25 years, which is related. If you look at WHO, their funding has shifted from mainly countries giving money to a big pot where they decide what's best to do with it, to a system where 80% of their funding almost is earmarked for specific projects of the funder. So they're just a tool of the funder. And an increasing part of that funding has been from the private sector. The largest single funder is now the Bill and Melinda, is now the Gates Foundation, as of this year. So, and then alongside that, you have public-private partnerships like Gavi for vaccines, CEPI for vaccines in pandemics, which have been started over the last couple of decades. And the model is that you use particularly public money from countries, but you have private people on the board who decide how to spend that money, and they're representatives by and large of the vaccine industry, of the pharmaceutical industry, so, or very strongly dominated by them. So they will decide, obviously, because they have to use that public money for the purposes of increasing their company's profitability, because that's what you do when you're in a company. That's your job. So we've designed a system that's sort of self-perpetuating, where pandemics, which we have found in our looking at the data, a tiny fraction of global mortality, but which these institutions are claiming are a very large part of it. Essentially, all the incentives are there that this becomes the dominant theme in global health, the dominant use of money, and the mRNA vaccines are part of this 100-day vaccine program at CEPI, which is publicly funded. The manufacturers are obviously on board because they could see the hundreds of billions that they make in this sort of model from COVID. And it's sort of setting us up for a health emergency future, which is probably going to be a net, very significant harm globally to public health. And that's not that hard to show, because all this effort takes away from where people can actually benefit. So we're looking at this and trying to based purely on evidence and not on opinion at all. Show whether this makes sense, and if not, try to convince people to do better, which we need to, because we still have major problems in health in the world that could benefit from the billions that are being wasted on this.
If you like this video, check out the full interview. Also, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you get notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for watching.